Next, we have an amazing woman that I just got a chance to meet the other day. It is my pleasure for me to invite her to speak on something that she is actually doing. For me, who is a Pan-Africanist, I'm all about what can the African Union do? How can we connect with our brothers and sisters all around the world? So I really want to welcome Her Excellency Ambassador Davisha L. Johnson. And before I give her the mic to speak and share with us the work that she's doing, I wanted to just take a few minutes to just read her bio so that we can all understand what it is that she is doing and the great work, like I said, she's doing. So Her Excellency Ambassador Davisha L. Johnson, she was appointed on June 1st, 2022. Congratulations, it happened last month, as the African Diaspora Union, AFRIDU's second ambassador to the United States and Canada, preceding the African Roots Synergy Roundtable event in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, on May 28, 2022, which was organized in part by AFRIDU. The second appointed ambassador, Her Excellency Davisha L. Johnson, is a fifth generation African-American born descent of the transatlantic slave trade, whose passion is women, girls, youth, and agriculture. Her Excellency Ambassador Johnson is formally educated and professionally trained in architecture, construction management, real estate, business, and politics. Her Excellency Ambassador Johnson has over 2 decades of experience to add to the AFRIDU network. She is a millennial serial entrepreneur, mother of 4, and is an award-winning political consultant working with political candidates, African government, and business leaders. Her Excellency Ambassador Johnson has spent over 10 years advocating for inclusion of the entire Black community around the world. After living in Canada for almost 9 years, her worldview is the framework for the connectivity of the entire 6th region, which is the diaspora, and the actualization of the vision of AFRIDU for the future and the next generation. So with that, you can, I've just said a little bit about what she's done, but I can't wait to hear what the ambassador has to say in regards to this conversation around diaspora engagement. It is my pleasure and my honor to welcome you, Ambassador. So go ahead, the stage is all yours. Tell us all about diaspora engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you perfectly.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Ann, and thank you to the Regal Africa Group for this opportunity to speak today on building the bridge between Africa and the diaspora to ensure economic growth. So I'm calling in today from Ghana. I live most of my time between Ghana, Nigeria, and Atlanta, Georgia. My name, as Ms. Ann has said, is Davisha L. Johnson, and I'm the newly appointed ambassador for the United States and Canada for the Africa Diaspora Union. I am a 5th generation African, or diaspora-born African-made, as I like to call myself. I was asked to speak today on building the bridge between Africa and the diaspora to ensure economic growth. So, seeing as I have a passion for women and girls, youth, and agriculture, and my 3 main pillars, these are my 3 main pillars of my office as ambassador, I'll be speaking from that perspective in regards to Black Americans, Black Canadians, and those of African origin in the diaspora, so that we can connect the dots of empowerment, create some synergies, and create some wealth. So I would like to start with the perception. So the perceptions on both sides of the Atlantic are in need of education and the truth. We need to have a real tough conversation on what the truths actually are. On the idea that the US is just full of opportunities, which is somewhat true. And then the other perspective of Black Americans thinking that Africa doesn't have what they need to be successful, or the famous words of why don't they just ... fill in the blank with whatever you would like to fill in the blank with. These assumptions and perceptions are not the truth. They're not 100% of the truth. There are think tanks that agree that Africa is too important to underestimate. And I think COVID-19 and the current crisis in the Ukraine will have us all agree that Africa is the future of the survival of our people. There are 150 million people in Africa's middle class that can purchase foreign goods and services. I'll give you an example. There's a place in Ghana called China Mall, and it's comparable to Costco in the US. So they're a wholesale, low value, or not low value, but a wholesale business that sells all types of products. So in China Mall in Ghana, all of these products come from China. And most of them are inferior to the same products sold in the West. Now, I'll give you an example with something as simple as a pack of Uno cards or a pack of playing cards. A friend of mine asked me to buy a pack of Uno cards from Amazon while I was in the US before I took one of my trips here to Ghana. So when I arrived, we compared the US Uno cards to the Ghana Uno cards. And it's the same brand, it's the same company, but the differences were astounding. African Uno cards were a different color, the paper was thinner, the brand identity on the card was even different. So we need to ask ourselves why. And there's a bunch of questions that I'm gonna ask throughout this section or this segment, and then I will come back and answer them at the end. So now the total population in Africa is roughly 1 billion people. According to the Harvard Business Review, the total buying power as of this year is $1.1 trillion, US dollars. US consumer markets have roughly 345 million people that have a purchasing power of 11 trillion, which is the largest in the world. So why are Black people in America and Africans on the continents not building wealth in mass? Africa has minerals that the modern world cannot live without, like the cobalt in Democratic Republic of Congo for cell phones. We would not be having this conference right now if it wasn't for Zoom, electronics, and people's cell phones. The gold in Ghana that the EU currency is backed on, but do they have gold mines in the EU? Where are they getting this gold? From Africa. So Africa's global oil production and the discovery of oil and gas being found in African countries wants to be controlled by non-Africans, or the diamonds or the precious minerals in South Africa that are illegal to leave the country because they're controlled by non-Africans. Why? The United States has the second largest African diaspora population, second largest African diaspora population. Behind Brazil. Native-born Africans in America like me and new residents to the US was in 2021, 46 million people. The highest population of African Americans in Africa right now is right here in Ghana, but only roughly 120 people have received citizenship in 2019 for the year of return, when Ghana saw over $1 billion increase in their GDP in 1 month's time. So the ability to spend US dollars in Africa is not the problem. We as African people don't value ourselves. We don't value our products. We don't value our capacity to unite ourselves economically, politically, or socially. Nielsen, a global performance management company, says the population of the diaspora will grow to 74.5 million people just in the diaspora by 2060, with a buying power of 1.1 trillion before the end of this year. So what can we do on a basic level to connect the diaspora with those on the continents to build the bridge between Africa and the diaspora to ensure economic growth? My answer is food. So in that regard, let's talk about AGOA. the American Growth and Opportunity Act, which expires in 2025. Which expires in 2025. So AGOA has 6,400 exportable items that can be imported to America, duty-free, tariff-free, and quote-free. AGOA was created in 2000 to enhance U.S.-Africa trade. So for example, the linkages that can be created, an amount of Black American women that buy beauty products in America that can be made with shea butter that can come from the continent, or fruits and vegetables that can be imported from Africa, when most Americans have health problems, food deserts, and no access to healthy food. So AGOA can benefit the growth and opportunity of Africans on both sides of the Atlantic. We talk about the farming practices in Africa, but in America, most food is not grown, most food that's grown is not natural. It's full of harmful chemicals. They have long-term effects to our health as a people. I'll give you another example. I sell this to people all the time, and it's a simple example about oranges. So I don't think a lot of people in America realize that oranges are not actually orange in color on the outside. There's an orange tree growing right outside of my house, and the oranges are green in Africa. In America, the oranges are orange in color. So marketing and education and educating the consumer market on the value of a California orange or a Florida orange is just simply that. It's marketing to what they believe the consumer wants to see. When you go into the grocery store in America, everything is huge. The tomatoes are huge. The green peppers are huge. The corn is huge. Now, on the continent, is it because there's all types of other external environmental factors on why it's not that big? No, it's because in America, they're genetically modifying the food because the consumer-based market, or what they think the consumer-based market wants, is bigger, brighter, nice colors, all of these types of things. So SMEs in the US, particularly small Black businesses in the US, have an incredible opportunity to trade through AGOA, direct to Black communities who have the buying power needed to build these bridges that I'm talking about. So SMEs, smallholder farmers in Africa can utilize AGOA to sell directly to the same people that look like us in America and Canada that have food deserts, health issues, and no access to healthy food. Trade statistics on AGOA outside of things like auto parts shows that agricultural commodities are not being taken advantage of. Why? The answers to all of these questions I have posed are based on two things: education and marketing. So how do we make AGOA a better success on both sides? How do we utilize schemes like the AFCFTA from the African Union for African-born people that live in America or Canada? How do we have bilateral international trade with millions of Africans in the diaspora in America, in American cities across the country? There are two answers, and that's education and marketing. So 2/3 of Africans are in the agriculture industry on the continent, but they're not as prevalent in exporting to the US as they could be. This would have us not be so dependent on the UK or the EU or Asia to buy our products so that we can make money here on the continent. I just posted on my LinkedIn just this morning about mangoes from Mali being shipped to Europe. Now, every morning here in Ghana, I eat mangoes. And Black people in America like mangoes. Let me just make that clear. So I have on my Instagram every morning that I eat mangoes because it's the breakfast of champions. Do you know how much mangoes cost in America? African traders and farmers would make a killing just on mangoes alone and exporting nothing else but mangoes. The same way they make money on cashews and cocoa here in Ghana. Imagine how many of the African diaspora, African born that have migrated to the US that will want a mango from Mali or a mango from Ghana or an orange from South Africa. There's a need there, but it's education and marketing. Africans can make so much money with trading and building bridges between us as a people. There are plenty of African born or those of African origin living outside of the continent. There are plenty of those African born and those of us in the that are diasporan or that are not African born but have African origin that are living here on the continent, that have linkages and connections back to America. There's a large population of African diaspora that live here in Ghana, the biggest on the continent. Diaspora of this region, and that action items, because talking is, so there's 3 things that I think that we can do and that I will do personally in my office to actualize building a bridge between the diaspora and those on the continent. So number 1 is through my office as ambassador to the United States and Canada, and within my 2022 plan of action with the ECOWAS, I'll be reaching out to the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, the Tema Port Authority, the Office of Diaspora Affairs, Office of the Presidents, the Global African Business Association in the United States, and the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, to partner with our office on an educational marketing campaign for AGOA specifically. And specifically for AGOA, for agricultural goods and services, utilizing AGOA and directly connecting to Black and Brown communities in the United States from smallholder farmers on the continent. Number 2, I'll be reaching out to the African Union Commission and the ECOWAS Commission in training for smallholder farmers for customs and sanitation rules for agricultural products to utilize AGOA. Some people, let me just say this. There are customs agents, bless them dearly, that have codes that they have to go by, protocols that they have to go by in order for you to export things out of your country and into other parts of the world. Imagine having to keep up with how many countries are exporting what codes are being used. There's a PAP system now that's been created for the AFCFTA to have a totally new coding system that they then have to learn. So how then is the small woman farmer from the village in Tamale supposed to get her tomatoes or her corn or anything else into her co-op to be able to be put into container and sent to America? A lot of times these things are sent back or they're not received because there's no education or there's lack of efficiency in keeping up to date with the standards of the United States and America for importing agricultural commodities. That needs to change. So third, and finally, what I would like to do, or what I'm going to do, is I'll be reaching out to the AFCFTA Secretariat, who's here in Ghana, to host an online training integration summit in partnership with United States Export Council and my office, where we will take public comments from the actual farmers and the small businesses in America on the challenges that they're already facing with AGOA and the potential challenges that may be faced with the AFCFTA and how we can overcome those challenges to expand the capacity and economic growth for both sides. We need education and marketing. I can tell you that because my passion is agriculture, when COVID-19 hit while I was in Ghana, my children were in the United States. And I was on one of the last flights out of Ghana. And I remember this day and I will never forget it. It was March 16th, because on March 22nd, they closed down the world. I returned home to America with food shortages, no toilet paper. I don't know. I still to this day don't understand why there was a rush to get toilet paper. But now that I live in Africa, it's really baffling why there was a rush to get toilet paper. But that's neither here nor there. But there was no food. There was no toilet paper. There was people that didn't look like us who had the means and the capacity were going to buy all of the food. So as a mother and as a diaspora born but African made, my ancestral instincts kicked in and I went and got a pot. I went and bought some seeds and I went and bought some dirt and I started planting on my 6 by 6 foot patio in my apartment in Stone Mountain, Georgia. 90 days later, as most agricultural products are grown, I had 20 different items growing on my patio for my children and I to eat. From tomatoes, I had peppers, I had string beans, I had squash, I even had corn. It's all on my Instagram because I wanted people to understand and go through this process when we were so uncertain about what was going to happen. We are in those days and times right now with the ending, or as they say, ending of COVID, but with the new crisis in Ukraine, and we're having a conversation about wheat and that Africa is now going to starve because we didn't have or understand the value of what we had on the continents and decided to let someone else grow all of our wheat and all of our grains. So now we're dependent, because these two are fighting, we're dependent on them to feed us. That's ridiculous in my mind. And I'm sorry to use those types of language, but I get really passionate about my personal experience with food and COVID, and now seeing that play out in mass with the entire continent of 1 billion people, and the youth of Africa coming up with 90% of them not having any hope of what's to come for the next generation. Everyone has to eat. There's a large population of those in the United States that believe there's a direct connection from farming to slavery, and I completely understand. But at the end of the day, you have to eat. And at the end of the day, everyone needs to be able to build these bridges. So I want to finally say that continental Africans have to understand that the exposure of Black Americans in the diaspora is nothing to fear, but to be inspired on how we can collectively utilize our skills, determination, and drive as a people for the economic and social advancement of our people. We have to work together as Africans, for Africans, and by Africans for the next generation that's coming. So I want to thank you for your time. You can reach out to me directly at afriduusacanada.org. I want to thank Miss Ann, the Regal Africa Group, for giving me this opportunity. You can reach me on all social media at Africa USA Canada or Davisha L. Johnson. And you can contact me on WhatsApp at +1 404 957 7864. I want to thank you again, Miss Ann, and the Regal Africa Group, and I look forward to extended conversation and connecting our people and making some money. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Ambassador Johnson. It was really great to actually listen to you and for you to paint that picture about the work that you're doing, which is really, really important. Building bridges, economic growth, but I like the fact that you focus on food, right? And it's been a running theme, which is quite interesting. This whole conference, the running theme has been agribusiness, it's been real estate, it's been about family and community. And I think in essence, that's what it is, us as Africans. And sort of
Right.
now is when we're remembering, and now we're going back to the origins. It's so interesting. Right. It wasn't purposed, but every person who's coming is really speaking around that. And we right. have to recognize the resources that we have. Education is very important, marketing. In fact, I keep telling people, because I lived in the US for 15 years, what I learned from America was the power of marketing and communication and building brands. America is great at that. And we
Yes.
haven't learned that in Africa. We need to learn it. And so I keep saying we need to change our narrative. We need to tell our own stories. And then we do the work, right? So we do the work. So thank you, Ambassador, for taking your time. I know you're quite busy, you know, on the continent, off the continent, but I know the people who have joined in or will listen after this, the diaspora will understand the work that you're doing. And I continue encouraging you to champion this work, speak to governments. We need to have the right policy. Then now we
Right.
bring the diaspora to organize so that then we're doing this work and we are feeding our people and making money. The goal here is for us to be wealthy and for us, again, because it's a wealth conference, for us to create generational wealth so our children have a better life than we had. And we just sort of keep passing the torch over and over again. So thank you very much for your great insights, for the great work that we're doing. And we look forward to engaging with you also in the future.